because this is only year 2 into the business. And at first, when I started, I was like, oh man, this thing is gonna take off. I'm not gonna have to work for anybody. I'm just gonna work on myself and work on my business. But as I'm growing with the business, I'm realizing that like if my business was to pop right now and I had like 30 clients, I'll be honest, I have no clue what I would do. I don't have those systems in place.
Sometimes over communicate. What are you doing and what are you not doing? And that helps you then get the leads that you actually want.
I'm picking my lane, right? Because sometimes we step into business or we want to do everything for everybody. So I'm learning how to just stick to what it is that I'm really good at. All I can tell you is that when I think of this, I get chills all over my body, knowing what I'm doing for the earth. I guess coming in with the helping handful of microbes is like to help people grow. I grow soil and I grow people.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Landscaper's Guide podcast. Today I'm excited to interview Dujon Blondel, who runs Green Glow Gardens in West Orange, New Jersey. Dujon has a very interesting background in farming, and today he's going to talk about regenerative agriculture and how that's impacting the work he's doing in landscaping. So Dujon, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jack. So quick about me. I come from a family of farmers on the island of Dominica. My mom sent me to the Caribbean to live there. I left the United States around age 2 till about age 7. And the reason why I left was because I had really bad asthma when I lived in America. So my grandmother then told my mom to send me to the islands to live with them and my aunts in order to help me get back on my feet and essentially rid my body of the disease that I had based on the quality of life, the air, and the food that was available to me in the Caribbean. So my background primarily starts with cannabis. I grew cannabis in Northern California, Humboldt County to be specific, for about 5 years. I started out on a large scale farm where we ran with conventional agriculture, which would be, your basic salt program. And in about 2019, I quit my job and ended up going to the Regenerative Cannabis Conference in Humboldt County, where I was taught or given ideas of how to grow cannabis regeneratively. From there, I farmed a couple plants at my backyard in my apartment. My friend and business partner, Chris Walborn, invited me to his farm that he was working at. And, I was able to go to their farm and instill the practices that I studied from 2019 and into 2020 to turn their farm out into a regenerative agriculture scene.
Cool. And so what is regenerative farming? What is regenerative agriculture? If you could kind of sum it up in a nutshell for the audience.
I would say, like, most of us, a lot of people know the concept of no-till, where you set up your farm one time and you don't till. We use bare minimum inputs. We are able to make our own fertilizers using what's around us. A lot of the material that we source is around us, except for the dry amendments. And sometimes you have to buy bulk compost and things like that. But for the most part, when I think of regenerative agriculture, I think of agriculture that is healing the soil and healing the people that are working with it, and also healing the people that are getting the material and the food, or the cannabis or whatever it may be that comes from that soil.
And I'm curious, how is your asthma now as an adult?
Um, right now, I would say since I moved back home, it's been a little bit rough because of the access that I have to the food that I've been able to consume. So my allergies this year has flared up since I've been living with my parents. But my favorite experiment was when I moved to Northern California. My diet completely changed. I was also in a completely different environment. So the first season working on the farm, I did have like flare-ups where I had asthma and allergies working with cannabis. But by year 2, because of the food that I was able to consume from the farmers that were growing in that climate and using these practices, my allergies completely disappeared. So I would say by year 2, year 3, like I barely was using my inhaler.
So tell me a little bit, what are you doing now with landscaping? And tell me a little bit like what's your week like? I think this is just cool because you are starting your business, you're in the grind, and just share with us like what are you up to right now?
So right now, I picked up a part-time job landscaping with another landscaper. I work, anywhere from 1 to 3 days out of the week. His service is like a mow and blow kind of deal, and that in itself, it's exhausting. When I see these guys working outside, I never really understood what they're doing, so I give them a lot of credit, and I signed up to work with him to really understand how landscaping works and what the systems are like that the conventional landscaper uses. And when I switch out during the week, so some days I don't work Wednesdays, and I have Wednesday through Sunday for myself, which is where I do things with Green Glow Gardens with my business. And a week like that for the Wednesday like that for me, the rest of the week, I'm sorry, like that for me would look like I'm either at home tending to the garden, pulling up weeds that I don't need, also using the things like the comfrey that's growing at the house to make fertilizers to use for the business, tending to the compost that I make, like things like watering my compost to make sure that the compost is alive. And then I have a few clients that I cut grass for. So like once a week, my clients, I tend to them like once a month. I cut their grass about once a month. So I have, maybe 5 or 6 people that I deal with. And then on the back end, I'm just trying to figure out how to build my website, how to market my business, and then how to make sure that I'm doing right by the state in terms of like the legalities of me spraying this stuff. So I have to take a course for me to get a certificate to be spraying compost tea for my clients. And that is right now, that's what the week is looking like. Because this is only year 2 into the business. And at first, when I started, I was like, oh man, this thing is going to take off. I'm not going to have to work for anybody. I'm just going to work on myself and work on my business. But as I'm growing with the business, I'm realizing that like, the famous saying that Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
And like this, if my business was to pop right now and I had like 30 clients, I'll be honest, I have no clue what I would do. Like I would be out there spraying nonstop
Right.
or like trying to cut all this grass. But then the systems that I need for me to like collect the payments, the scheduling, making sure that the marketing is right, that the clients are leaving me ratings on Google so that I show up. I don't have those systems in place. And I'm honestly really happy that I get this time right now to slowly develop my business. And once the business is rolling, I can apply some serious pressure because at the early stages, I have put in the work to develop the systems. And it's nice to have this part-time job because now I can supplement income for me to, pay for my truck and save money for me to invest into the business and not go exhausting myself or pulling my hair out as a first-time business owner, trying to figure out how I'm going to make ends meet while I'm still trying to build a business. I would like to manifest a mentor. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's they have this saying when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. And I feel like I'm putting myself in the position for the teacher to show up. And though I'm not running a typical landscaping company, there are still principles that I can follow from a landscaper that's doing the work and has been built a successful business and scale up.
Go to an event. You go to these events and there will be like 50 people and you'll just start talking to the right people is what I think will happen. That's what I love about the landscape industry is that I don't know, there's so many people who are sharing knowledge and sharing ideas and looking for people. I'm on your website and you're here to serve communities, a helping handful of microbes. Tell me about that. What does that mean to you?
Oh man, you just gave me chills saying that. I could dive into a rabbit hole with that. Green Glow Gardens is here to serve communities with a helping handful of microbes, in the sense that the inputs that we make are microbially based with locally sourced material. The compost that I'm making, I'm grabbing material from. I have a friend Jen. Jen has a couple with cattle, a couple milk cows. So I grab the manure from Jen. I go to the community dump where I'm at. They give out free wood chips. I grab the wood chips from there to for my carbon source. My friend has a bamboo forest at his house up in Montville. I go to his house and I grab the bamboo for my greens. I met a woman that owns chickens and I'll go to her spot and I'll grab the manure from the chickens to make this compost. And essentially the compost that I'm making follows the Elaine Ingham's soil food web methodology. And when you put this thing under a microscope, the amount of life that you see running through this is insane. Those microbes turn dead landscapes around. And I've been able to witness it just at my house, for example. I've been spraying my house with the compost tea that I'm using for my clients, and implementing these regenerative like practices at the house. We have this one shrub behind the house that's been dying since I moved out of the house, and this thing has grown so lush so quickly. it's insane. So when I come in and I come in with this handful of helping microbes, I'm not only, you know, helping your grass grow, but I'm also helping, like, but our company is helping your biome. Green Glow Gardens prides itself in no chemicals, no pesticides, because we know that once these microbes touch the soil, what it does. And once a human gets in contact with these microbes, they're also getting that into their body. So I like I guess coming in with the helping handful of microbes is like to help people grow. I grow soil and I grow people. I grow grass and I help your gut biome grow. Like I grow food. These inputs help a lot. Like I wish I wish like I wish I can give you a full, like, I'm having a hard time putting it into words. All I can tell you is that when I think of this, I get chills all over my body, knowing what I'm doing for the earth and then the people that come in contact with the business.
That's incredible. And so tell me, in the future, what are you hoping Green Glow Gardens will be doing? So right now you're working part-time, you're doing lawn maintenance, landscape maintenance. Um, where are you heading in the future? What's it look like?
So, in my mind's eye, when I think of the future, I would like to continue doing these organic lawn installations. I would like to scale the business to have a few trucks that are spraying the compost tea, potentially, having a lot where we scale up the compost making. I would also like to be spraying the fields, like the municipal fields in the area where the kids are playing at the schools, especially if there's grass, and be fertilizing the grass using these microbes, consulting for farms that would like, compost tea sprayed on their property, consulting with orchards that have fruit trees where we could come in and spray these trees, do root zone injections with the compost tea and the inputs that we're making. Um, and then at some point, like maybe selling the fertilizers to homeowners and people and do it yourselfers, because I know there's a lot of people that just want to do it on their own to see the growth of their property. Um, and that's where my mind goes. I've actually discovered this year, like I'm picking my lane, right? Because sometimes we step into business, or we want to do everything for everybody, and I realize, like, I don't like cutting grass. Like, if I had my way, I would put wood chips over our entire yard. But I live with my parents. We share the space, and my mom wants a lawn. So the front portion of the house, I'm gonna give her some grass. Right now, we have some flowers I just put in. But like, I I don't want to cut grass. So in my mind now, I have people that call me from Google, and they're like, "Oh, do you cut grass?" And I actually get happy to tell them no. I'm like, "No, I don't cut grass. But if you need your lawn fertilized, and you want your lawn installation, this is the company that will do that for you, because that is what we specialize in." So I'm learning how to just stick to what it is that I'm really good at, and then scale my business from there.
Yeah, I like it. That's part of my book, and what we help people do is figure out who is your hell yes customer. And part of that is, where are they
Hmm.
geographically, and then what service do you sell them? And
Yep.
many companies, I also think you have to go through a period of doing everything.
Yep.
At least that's how I arrived at doing sales and marketing for landscape companies. There were many years of doing lots of marketing services for lots of different people, and then realizing, I like landscape companies and they're getting really good results. And then I eventually went all in on it. But had I not kind of experimented to figure it out, I never would have gotten there. So I think removing those things as you grow is a good idea, and getting really focused, because then you could also be a referral partner, or even if you wanted a subcontractor for the landscape maintenance company that does mowing, and you could refer to them, and maybe they don't do the lawn fertilization with compost tea.
I really like having this discussion with you, because it's almost like you're picking the thoughts out of my mind. I was having this discussion with myself this morning. I was like walking around the garden, pulling up weeds, and I'm like, even though I'm not the one cutting the grass, I could make buddies with another landscaper and just, refer the jobs off of to him. And if, almost like, I guess you could say, brokering the job, where like I can add, a couple dollars on top of it, and we write up a contract. I'm like, hey, so these are my customers, but you're getting a bulk of the pay. I'm taking this much off of it. You tell me your price. I'm gonna do this, but please follow my recommendation and go with this contract that we agreed on. But you're getting a majority of the service that I'm gathering from these clients.
Yeah,
So
I
once
think I
again,
think that
Jackson,
can. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, sorry. Thank you for affirming the thoughts that I have in my mind. It's always nice to be able to ping pong your thoughts with somebody else.
My pleasure. That's why I love this show and being able to talk to
Hmm.
people and help people figure out what they're doing and how to get more of it. And I've found in my own business, like talking with people helps me figure it out. I have a client, I'm thinking of one, and they do construction and installation, and then they also do landscape maintenance. They do, and to them that means lawn mowing. That they do tree trimming under 10 feet. They do all of that, but they don't do fertilization. This is where one of the things, I don't know, it's confusing in the market of what is lawn care. Like, I'm curious, in your opinion, does lawn care include lawn mowing? Does that mean lawn mowing to
Yeah,
you?
I would think so. Yeah, I definitely think so because like that's a service that needs to be offered, and people are obviously offering it. And now, I'm realizing as I, talk to my clients and I'm just watching how this business works, a lot of people don't have the time to cut their own grass. They're either an elderly person and they can't physically do it anymore, or like they have a family to raise, and like there's no time to get out on the weekend and mow your massive lawn on the back of your mower when you have to take like your three kids to soccer practice and go catch all their games, and there's a stacked schedule to have. So I definitely do feel that lawn mowing is a service that is part of lawn maintenance.
I've interviewed literally hundreds of landscape professionals, and I've gotten
Hmm.
different answers from people. I can't say that there's a consensus. I have a client here in Colorado who does organic lawn care, and to him, he does that's aeration and fertilization. That's it. So there's no right or wrong answer. What I'm getting at, like on your website, I think you've got to get clear on what are the services you offer. And then if you don't offer lawn mowing, put it on your website. At this time, we are not offering lawn mowing, but we can refer you to someone that we know. So when you're meeting with like the average homeowner, so the customer you're just talking about, they're a busy professional, maybe they're married, maybe they have kids who play on 3 different soccer teams or whatever. Do they know what compost tea is? Have they ever like heard of compost tea? Are you seeing
I
that
don't
the
like I don't think so. In my area, when I start talking about this to a lot of these people, it's almost like I'm speaking gibberish. So I'm learning how to water it down and just tell them that I'm implementing organic fertilizers on their property.
so would you
Um,
would you say that it's lawn fertilization?
to the average Joe, yes. To the average Joe that doesn't speak soil or isn't heavily involved in agriculture, I would call it lawn fertilization.
Okay, so let's pretend that I hired you
Hmm.
for, and you're going to come and spray compost tea. Would I also need to do other lawn fertilization, or would you be the only thing I'd need? Would you be the only service provider I'd need to hire for my lawn?
I would be the only provider that you need to hire for your lawn, because when when I'm creating the spray, I'm also inputting I'm also using other fertilizers as well, such as like a fish amino acid, which is like fermented fish, and that's a source of nitrogen. That also has aminos in it. So when the microbes from the compost tea come together with the fish amino acid, it makes the nitrogen available for the soil. Um, I'm also using things like fermented plant extracts, which is, a plant matter with molasses, EM1, and the plant matter is a source of fertilizer as well. So for like example, my favorite thing to use is comfrey. For those that are in the agriculture space, we all know comfrey as a biodynamic accumulator, which means it mines minerals from the soil with its deep taproot, puts it in a leaf. Once that breaks down into this fermented plant extract, then I pair that with the compost tea that I'm spraying, and that those minerals and nutrients become available to the soil.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a transcript of what you just said, and I want you to edit it and put it on your website with those big questions. So put a heading on there like, if I hire Green Glow Gardens, will I need to hire other lawn fertilization companies? Like, that's the question. And the keyword that people search, I can tell you, lawn care is one of them, and lawn fertilization is another one. So as a homeowner, I know that I need lawn care, I need lawn fertilization, and then we got to add in the benefit. And so this is the which means that part. So these are my favorite words to ask is, which means that your lawn is going to look great, because that's really all the homeowner kind of cares about is like,
Yeah.
you're cool, you know what you're doing, it's better for the environment, and my lawn's gonna look great. Like, okay, cool, you're hired. So I think kind of dumbing it down, or ending with the benefit of, which means that you're gonna have a really healthy looking lawn, and your kids are gonna be safe, and your pets are gonna love it. Those are the things like that's what I want. I'm curious, did you have any other questions for me? Because we do kind of need to wrap up the interview.
um, like I would like to ask any tips for somebody that's coming into year one, year zero, year one, year two, or year three of their business. What would you recommend for somebody like me that's just getting started, as far as marketing and figuring out that hell yeah customer?
My recommendation for somebody in their first 3 years would be to do the work, like go out and do it like you're doing. I think you're on track, and look back at what did I do this quarter or this year? What was my profit margin? What did I like doing? What do I hate doing? And eventually you start figuring out what you really want to focus on. And I really think that reading books, listening to podcasts, and working in some way with a mentor, those are the things that really can help you grow faster. Because had I had the right mentors earlier, I think I would have saved a lot of suffering that
Yeah.
I went through. I had a lot of debt.
Mhm.
I worked like an insane amount, and I think that you have to work an insane amount to get started. But I also think that you can learn to work smarter sooner by
Then later.
studying and listening, and I think podcasts are amazing for that, because while you're driving or while you're working or while you're going to the gym or whatever you do, you can always be learning. So one of our core values is grow or die. And I believe that you're either growing or you're dying. And like, especially with all the things changing in AI and the internet
Yep.
and how people communicate, and then environmental things and how that impacts people's health. Like, I think you're onto something. I don't fully understand it to the level that you do, but I think you're onto something, right? With like what your
Thanks, man.
personal story, and I think there's a lot of opportunity.
So I'll just keep it short. Like, in the way of experience, an organically grown tomato at your house, grown using compost and these practices versus like the tomato you'll buy in the store, like you can literally taste the difference in the food. And that is what cued me onto doing this work. Like the cannabis that I was able to grow using these practices, like if I can give you an expression, it's like, like it's like it's to die for, because when you smoke this crop, the taste, the feeling, the vigor of how the plant's growing, the lack of disease that you witness in your crop, it's like, how can I turn around and go run synthetics again, knowing that I'm saving money and I'm producing a superior product, knowing that in the long run, my crop is doing more good than harm, to the environment and therefore myself.
Growing tomatoes at home, like you can't grow enough, and maybe you disagree with me. I don't think you can grow enough food in your own yard to like totally feed your entire family. Do you think you can?
No,
So
you
so
need the space. You
you need the
definitely need the
space. So
space.
how then do we take this idea to all of the farming? And maybe this is a whole other podcast episode, but you know what I mean? So, to me, there's like all of these people that need food,
Hmm.
And so how do we
How do
handle
we get
that?
that out?
How do we handle that challenge? Because I could be wrong, but I think it was something like if all of the food farmed was organic, it would feed a third of the world at this time.
Huh. I'm not going to disagree because like it's almost impossible to feed all these people, and I'm sure that this is going to take a lot of time for the systems to change. And I guess it starts at home, right? It starts on a small scale, even if it's like just a couple tomatoes or whatever it is that you can grow, whether it's oregano inside, whatever it is that you can grow. It starts at home on a small enough scale, and once enough people are doing it over time, there's the potential for there to be the transition for it to happen. Because with the systems that we have, there are many like ways that organics could come into place. For example, like tomatoes that are grown synthetically are considered organic. So maybe in using the synthetic inputs, the chemical or pesticide input is reduced. So that and I feel like that's where the harm comes from. Is it's mainly the things that are sprayed on the crops to protect it. And forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm still learning, but
Oh yeah.
like I've just I feel like that's a hard one. I'm gonna sit on that and then I'll get back to you.
I don't have the answer either.
Yeah.
And I'm not like trying to stump you on it or something, but
Hmm.
so I like what you're saying, and like what I'm thinking is like, okay, how do we do that at scale? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Because otherwise it's, I don't know, like I have a garden at home. We actually just built garden boxes, and we've got some vegetables inside, and I'm waiting another couple weeks because right now it's May, and in May we actually get the most snowfall in Colorado. Like I have started gardens before, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm in the clear. It's 65 degrees middle of May," and then boom, 12 inches of snow destroys everything. Anything else before we wrap up?
I want to say thank you, Jack, for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the podcast that you've curated over the last few years, especially for somebody like me that's just getting started, and like having the mindset to want to scale my business, and then knowing that there are resources out there like your podcast. And I bought your book, by the way. I'm actually finishing up E-Myth Revisited, and
Oh,
then I'm gonna
nice.
dive in. Yeah, I'm gonna dive into the landscapers. I think it's landscapers Tree of Fortune. I think it's a Tree of Fortune book that you wrote. I'm gonna dive into that next. So once again, dude, thank you so much for the resources that you put out for the community because it's needed, and it's amazing to know that there are people out there that think like me, and I'm not alone. And we like in this world right now, we all crave community, whether it's in person, digitally, like having access to that community that allows my mindset to grow. It truly is a blessing. And I guess that's the one thing that I'd like to leave on. So, dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hey, Dujon, my pleasure. It's been really fun talking with you, and let's talk again at some point. I want to hear what you're doing a year from now. And yeah, the community aspect of the landscape industry is one of the reasons I want to create the podcast, is to just I get so much from the industry, and the podcast, I get a lot just from doing it, but giving these stories to people is fulfilling too. So I appreciate you saying thanks, because sometimes you're running the show and you see the numbers, but you don't know that a real human is listening until you hear
Is
things like
listening.
this. So
Yeah.
so thank you.
Well, I'm one of those real humans. I'm one of those numbers that's listening to your podcast and giving it plays on a weekly basis. So it's a
Cool.
blessing to have this tool, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Like today's video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get upcoming videos to help you grow your snow and landscape company. My name's Jack Jostes, and check out my free resources in the show notes and click the next video to grow your business.